be present in a regular location, and all members of the Planning Commission will attend this meeting by telephone or other electronic means. So we will begin this meeting with a roll call. Sonia?
Commissioner Anderson?
Here.
Commissioner Baker's excused day. Commissioner DeJoy?
Here.
Commissioner Edgerton is excused today. Commissioner Grill? Commissioner Hong?
Here.
Commissioner Hood?
Present.
Commissioner Lindeke? Commissioner McMurtry is excused today. Commissioner Chipal?
Here.
Commissioner Perryman?
Here.
Commissioner Presley? Commissioner Presley, I know you're here, I just can't hear you. Commissioner Riley? Commissioner Rasberg?
Here.
Commissioner Said?
Here.
Commissioner Tagioff?
Here.
Commissioner Underwood?
Here.
Commissioner Yang?
Yes, please.
And of course, Chair Rangel
Here.
Morales.
And I'm here. Sorry, Sonia.
Okay, I knew you were here. I just didn't hear you. Thank you.
So we will go head on to the agenda. The first item on the agenda is the steering committee has ongoing. We met this morning to discuss sort of the present. Well, we were going to receive a presentation about the legal authority, what creates the commission, kind of the parameters of what the commission is and is not allowed to do. Mr. Warner was unable to join us this morning, but we had a really fruitful discussion based on the information that Mr. Warner was able to provide to us. So that, to the commissioners that are interested, that discussion is ongoing. We will again meet next Planning Commission meeting, and then hopefully have some form of presentation or information for the commission in early April with regards to making recommendations and or what authority we would have to move the IZ zoning study, which is or the inclusionary zoning study, which I know is something that most, if not all, the commission members have expressed an interest in. The other item that I wanted to speak before passing it on to Luis was we had a recognition today, but I don't know if Commissioner Edgerton is on, so I will sort of set that aside for now and see if he joins us in a little bit, and I'll just plug it into the agenda when he did.
Not coming. Commissioner Edgerton's excused today. He had something else that came up, so he's not coming to the meeting.
Did he email you?
Yes, he emailed me this morning, like at 10 to 8.
Okay, so then I'll move on to the next item, and then Luis, you can direct me on what you want me to do with the recognition. So, director announcements.
Yes, Chair. Thank you. It looks like he may be in process of joining. Commissioner Edgerton, and here he is.
Great.
Hello.
Hi, Commissioner
Hello.
Edgerton. How you doing?
I'm doing okay. Sorry, I had another meeting just come up that I had to be in, but I told him that it sounded like I needed to just step away for a minute.
Just for a minute, I think.
Oh, okay. Well, so
Luis, could you put up the information?
Yes, Chair, can you see that?
I can see, yes. So for those that don't know, Commissioner Edgerton termed out, and a replacement was found to take his spot. Commissioner Edgerton was kind enough to stay on in the commission while a replacement was found, so that we would have someone speaking for Ward 5, well, just speaking from Ward 5, not on behalf of Ward 5, but his family and the Ward 5 president have been in contact with staff about recognizing Commissioner Edgerton's work. And so I'm not going to do this as well as Commissioner Reveal did. And I know most of the time that Commissioner Edgerton worked, he had the pleasure of working with her. So I apologize in advance, Commissioner Edgerton, if I don't do this as well as she does. So I'll just go ahead and read the declaration. So declaring, Luis, can you put it back up here?
Can you see it, or
I'm not seeing it.
let me try again.
All right. So the declaration declares March 5th, 2021 as Daniel Edgerton Day in the city of St. Paul, whereas Commissioner Dan Edgerton was appointed to the St. Paul Planning Commission on January 27th, 2012, and ends this service to the city on March 5th, 2021. And whereas Dan has reached the maximum time anyone can serve on the Planning Commission or would want to serve on the Planning Commission, serving 3 terms over 9 years. And whereas he has served on 4 committees, so the Planning Commission, the Comprehensive Planning Committee from 2012 to 2013, and the Neighborhood Planning Committee from 2013 to 2016. And when both committees merged into one, he continued to serve on it from 2016 to 2018, and the Zoning Committee from 2014 to 2021. And whereas in 2017, he became the Zoning Committee Chair and served in this role intentionally and pragmatically, offering his infamous preamble at the beginnings of each meeting, reminding folks to keep testimony concise, to the point, and avoid redundancy. And whereas Dan leads the water resource team in the Minneapolis office of Stanek, a consulting engineering and planning firm where the focus of its work is infrastructure planning and sustainable stormwater management. And whereas he received his BS and MS in civil and environmental engineering from the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Whereas Dan serves on many community boards, the North End Development Team since its inception, which has provided over $500,000 of grants and loans to the North End community, the Rice and Larpenteur Alliance Advisory Board, as well as filling up any of his free time with joining the Comm Community Council. And whereas Dan and his family have lived in the Como Park neighborhood since 1988, he and his wife Robin have 3 children together, Angelique, Elizabeth, and Alexander. And whereas in his free time, Dan enjoys their annual family trips to northern Wisconsin, watching Packer games with his son Alexander, reading history books, particularly about the Civil War, adding to his photo collection of gutters and trains, judge science fairs, volunteers with church, and grows bonsai. And now, therefore, well, I'll do one more. Whereas Commissioner Edgerton has served as a great mentor to younger commissioners who have asked, and he has been kind to spend time in explaining the intricacies and procedures of the zoning committee. Be it resolved that St. Paul City Council declares March 5th, 2021 as Daniel Edgerton Day in the city of St. Paul. So congratulations, Dan. It's a big day for you.
Well, thank you. And actually I don't know if you can see this or not, but my son just handed me, I don't know if you can see it, but he just handed me the resolution, a framed. So I people seldom see me speechless, but I really am. I just really am grateful for this and grateful for the time that I've been able to serve on Planning Commission. It's been a terrific experience. I've just learned a lot and really has made me appreciate the folks we have working, at the city, for the city, both staff and as well as the all the volunteers who volunteer their time on Planning Commission and other committees. So thank you so much. It's been wonderful, and I hope that just keep plugging away in different roles to work for the city of St. Paul. I think we've got it's a great place. It's a great city, and I'm just really grateful to be here. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Dan. And I know you can't see it, but there's going to be fireworks tonight and everything for you. So city went all out for you, man. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And I know you have a lot of family support here today too, and they were able to convince you to come in, even though I know you said you had other things that you had to do this morning.
Yeah, I apologize. There was a last minute thing. I did not realize. So
I see. We usually don't do this, but I'll call ahead and call on former Commissioner Kim, who wants to say a comment, and I think we'll make an exception.
Thank you. I will use that personal point of privilege. Thank you so much. I just wanted to just briefly interject your meeting, just to also name that I've had the pleasure to work with Dan in a few capacities. And Dan has just worked so hard in community, and that's something that I've always really admired and really appreciated as a model. As we continue to move through spaces of power, it's important to always feel rooted with our neighbors, and that's something that I've seen illustrated day to day in Dan's life. I will agree, Chair Rangel Morales, that my first zoning committee meeting was terrifying, and Dan was really the calm leader through some really tough votes, but also was just such a tremendous role model and mentor for me when I had questions anytime, and always talked to me after meetings and just really encouraged my own leadership and my own thought process through the Planning Commission. So just really commending your legacy of work. It's just really extraordinary to think that anyone would spend 9 years doing something like this. And yet here you are. And so just a deep gratitude to your service, and also a deep gratitude to your mentorship as well, both personally and professionally. So thank you so much. Thanks for representing Ward 5 with just complete and absolute dedication.
So with that, congratulations, Dan. I still think everybody in the zoning committee will be waiting for that New Year's Eve drink that we were promised. That has now been passed to Commissioner Baker, but I'm sure you did not tell him. I'll remind him, and we'll make sure to send an invite your way when that occurs. And
Yes,
Commissioner Wendicke too.
Be sure to do that. I would love to join you for that.
All right. Thank you, Dan. So we have other items on the agenda, so I'm gonna go ahead and call on that. Thank you for joining us. So moving on to the next item, not as fun and interesting, but Director Pereira, do you have any announcements for the commission?
I do. Couple things, and again, we're going to miss Commissioner Edgerton. Certainly, thank you for all that you've done. Want to just point out the definition of family zoning study public hearing happened this last Wednesday at the City Council. Some discussion about the proposed amendment change, which includes there's an amendment to the student housing overlay area. So the definition of family had proposed increasing the maximum number of undergraduate students from 4 to 6 within each home that's registered as a student home within that overlay district, and all the other standards of that staying intact. Ultimately, there was not an amendment made to the Planning Commission recommendation. proposing to go up to 6 students, which would be parallel to the six adult students. I'm sorry, 6 adult non-students proposed in the broader definition of family study, but quite a bit of conversation about sort of the history of that student housing overlay and a lot of public input about what's been achieved with that overlay. So I just wanted to point that out for the Planning Commission. And secondly, also at the City Council this week, we had several new future Planning Commission appointments named, and so 4 individuals named, and we're already reaching out to them to get them scheduled for an orientation, and hope to have many or all of them join next meeting. So those are the 2 things I wanted to mention. Thank you.
Thanks, Luis. I guess I ask this question every time we have new appointments, but I do know we have several commissioners who are very graciously staying on. And will any of those be replacing? Would any of the new commissioners be replacing the outgoing commissioners?
Chair, yes. So we have one Ward 1 new commissioner would be replacing Commissioner Lindeke, and we have another Ward 5 appointment. So with Commissioner Muchapao wanting to transition off, potentially as soon as next time, and then the 2 other ones are from Ward 7. One would replace Commissioner Oliver, and one is a vacant position. So that's
So I missed a lot of that. I don't know if it was my connection. Were other commissioners able to hear, Luis?
Yes, I heard him.
Yes.
Naida.
Okay.
so
Okay.
So Lindeke, Commissioners Lindeke, Oliver, and Muchapao are potentially as soon as next time able to transition or transition off.
Okay. And so thank you for the update, Luis. The next item on the agenda is the public hearing for the District 12 plan. Today, the City of St. Paul Planning Commission is holding a public hearing on the District 12 plan. Notice of the public hearing was published in the Legal Ledger on Thursday, February 11th, 2021, and was sent to the citywide early notification system list of recipients and other interested parties. So before the hearing is open for public testimony, the staff is going to make a presentation on District 12, on the District 12 plan. So I believe this is Anton making the presentation.
That's right, Chair. Hello, Planning Commissioners. Let me share my presentation here. So my name is, again, Anton Jervy. I'm a Principal City Planner and the liaison to St. Anthony Park Community Council. There are several existing plans in the area, in the neighborhood, that will be remaining. West Midway Industrial Plan, St. Anthony Park Como 2030 Plan, Raymond Stationary Plan, Westgate Stationary Plan, and the University of Raymond Commercial Historic District. That's not a plan, but there are, it is a district within the area. And when this plan is adopted, we will decertify the 2008 district plan. Here's the outline of the neighborhood. It's in the north west corner of the city, and you'll see the outlines here are the outlines of the plans I mentioned. So the Como 2030 plan covers along Como Avenue here. The pink area is the West Midway industrial area, and then the 2 green areas here are the Westgate stationary plan and the Raymond stationary plan, and this hashed area is the historic district. So St. Anthony Park Community Council and the neighborhood volunteers led outreach work beginning back in 2017. They did online surveys and getting over 400 respondents. They supplemented that with in-person surveys to make sure that the diversity of the neighborhood was reflected in the responses they were getting to the surveys. They also supplemented that with business surveys in the fall of 2017. They drafted community goals based on that information and reviewed them at community forums. A draft was submitted to city staff review in December of 2018. So they've been waiting patiently as we've been getting through our comp plan, and the Met Council has been reviewing all the comp plans to finally get theirs reviewed and here at the public hearing. The plan was organized around three key guiding questions. What will we do to ensure the equitable access for all in housing, jobs, food, and movement from place to place? What will we do to respond to climate change as a neighborhood within a city? And what will we do to support the shift to a creative, more diverse economy? And you'll see those questions are reflected in the plan structure. These are the chapters of the plan, and they have a chapter dedicated to each of those questions: equity, climate change, economic and business development. Those three chapters are not required by us, so they took it upon themselves to organize their plan that way. I think it's pretty innovative and could be a model for other neighborhoods going through a neighborhood planning process. In addition to that, they have a housing chapter, historic preservation, transportation, parks and rec, water, soil and air, which are kind of your more typical chapters. But those three questions really are seen throughout kind of the content of each of those chapters. In terms of comprehensive plan compliance, the plan is consistent with the 2040 plan. There was a direct link between their policies and the 2040 land uses. There are a few housing policies that we just asked that they revise for clarity, which they provided updated versions to those in I think this week. And in terms of testimony we received so far, we got the letter from the district council with two updates, the 5 updated housing chapter policies, and then the St. Anthony Unified Design Standards which update or an update to some design standards that were in the plan, the draft plan. And those design standards were made in collaboration with the Creative Enterprise Zone, Towerside Innovation District, and Prospect Park, which all share some geography. You can see the orange outline here is St. Anthony Park. The blue shaded area is the Creative Enterprise Zone. Towerside is this area that abuts Stadium Village, includes parts of Prospect Park and parts of St. Anthony Park and the Creative Enterprise Zone. So the idea is that those design guidelines will be used throughout these different areas to have a sense of cohesion and help create a sense of place. So the next steps is the public hearing today. Any edits and resolution will go back through the Comprehensive Neighborhood Planning Commission. Recommendation resolution will go through Planning Commission, and then review and approval will go through City Council and Met Council. And with that, that's my presentation.
Thank you. So I will now open up the floor for the commission members to ask questions of staff. After that, I will open the public hearing on this study. So if there are questions or comments, if you could enter C or Q or raise your hand. All right, seeing no questions from the commissioners. The following rules of procedure will be used in conducting the hearing. All testimony and questions will be addressed to the chair. If you are a member of the public that would like to speak during the public hearing, you will be asked to identify yourself. Speakers should state their name and address for the record before beginning their presentation. All comments must be confined to the topics of the public hearing, which is the proposed District 12 plan. Each speaker may speak only once. Again, speakers are requested to address all questions to the chair. Planning Commission members may address questions to the speakers and to the staff. You will be limited to no more than 3 minutes. People who exceed the time limit may have their microphones muted by staff. Please mute yourself during this meeting, except during your 3 minutes when you are specifically called upon to speak. When the Planning Commission closes the public hearing and refers the matter to the Comprehensive and Neighborhood Planning Committee, planning staff will hold the record open for additional written testimony that they receive by 4:30 on Monday, March 8th, 2021. If you would like to speak on this item, please identify yourself now and include your name on the comment section so that I can call upon you at the appropriate time. Staff will now create a list of speakers to be called. I will make a second request for any speakers on this public hearing to either identify yourself on the comment section or audibly. All right, I'm not seeing anybody wanting to comment on this. I'll ask one last time if there's anyone that wants to speak on this District 12 plan. Seeing no one, there will be no further testimony, and I will turn to Commissioner Grill for a motion.
This is Commissioner Grill. I would make a motion that we close the, or sorry, you've closed the public hearing already.
I think we still need the motion on that, though. I don't know that.
Because Commissioner Grill, make a motion to close the public hearing.
And to hold the written testimony until Monday, March 8th at 4:30.
Yes, and to hold the written testimony until Monday, March 8th at 4:30.
Thank you. Motion made by Commissioner Grill. Is there a second?
Second, this is Commissioner Perryman.
Motion by Commissioner Grill, seconded by Commissioner Perryman. Simon, can we get a roll call?
Chair. Oh,
go on.
Chair, sorry. I see a hand up from Commissioner Mujapau.
Oh, sorry, Commissioner Mujapau.
Sorry, I was seconding, and I lowered it. Thank you.
Thanks. So we'll go ahead and take a roll call on that motion.
Commissioner Anderson?
Yes.
Commissioner DeJoy? Commissioner Grill?
Yes.
Commissioner Hood?
Yes.
Commissioner Hong?
Yes.
Commissioner Perryman?
Yes.
Commissioner Presley?
Yes.
Commissioner Risberg?
Yes.
Commissioner Said?
Yes.
Commissioner Tagioff?
Yes.
Commissioner Underwood?
Yes.
Commissioner Yang?
Yes.
Commissioner Muchapa,
Yes.
Commissioner DeJoy once again.
Yes, I'm sorry, I couldn't get my microphone unmuted.
Okay, unanimous.
All right, so that motion carries to close the public hearing on the District 12 plan, but hold the record open until Monday, March 8th for written testimony at 4:30. The next item on the agenda is Zoning Committee. Commissioner Baker, the chair, was unable to be here today. And so I will be reading that report that he sent to me. The March 9th site plan meeting has been canceled. The upcoming zoning committee meeting includes the James Avenue Apartments, 1074 James Avenue. It's a conditional use permit for a 69-foot building height and adjusted variance for building setbacks. The North End Community Center, 1025 Rice Street, will be asking for a conditional use permit for a multi-use community recreation center with modification of a condition to permit principal access from Lawson Street, and for variance for parking lots a front setback of 25 feet minimum with a 7-foot proposed. The Lexington Landing Phase 2 at 915 Albion Avenue will be coming for us for a conditional use permit for a 50-foot building height. And the Grand Cleveland parking lot at 215 Summit Avenue for a site plan review for the parking lot condition amendment. Moving on to the items that were discussed at the zoning committee. In old business was the James Avenue Apartments at 1074 James Avenue, a conditional use permit for an increase in the building height and variance for the front and rear yard setbacks. Since the applicant and staff are still working on that case, it was requested for this item to be laid over until our next zoning committee meeting. The committee voted 7-0 to lay over the item to the next zoning committee meeting and voted 8-0 to have the public hearing open for testimony on changes to the application. New business was Provincial House at 1880 Randolph Avenue, a conditional use permit for emergency housing facility serving 22 to 30 families. The applicant, Interfaith Action of Greater St. Paul, is a faith-based nonprofit agency. It operates an emergency housing program called Project Home. The applicant intends to lease space in the Provincial House building on property owned by the Sisters of St. Joseph to establish an emergency housing facility serving 22 to 30 families as part of its Project Home program. Staff found that all the conditions and standards were met. The District Council recommended approval of this application. We received 67 letters of support for this application, and 3 people spoke in support during the public hearing. There were 5 letters of opposition for this application, and no one spoke in opposition. The committee voted 8-0 to approve this application. So the motion coming out of the committee was to approve. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, Sonia, can we get a roll call?
Commissioner Anderson,
Yes.
Commissioner DeJoy,
Yes.
Commissioner Grill,
Yes.
Commissioner Hood,
Yes.
Commissioner Hung,
Yes.
Commissioner Perryman,
Yes.
Commissioner Presley,
Yes.
Commissioner Risberg,
Yes.
Commissioner Said,
Yes.
Commissioner Tagioff,
Yes.
Commissioner Underwood,
Yes.
Commissioner Yang,
Yes.
Commissioner Muchapa,
Yes.
unanimous.
All right, so the motion for a conditional use permit for emergency housing facility is approved at 1880 Randolph Avenue. The next item that came before the committee was 1509 Marshall Avenue. It's a conditional use permit to increase maximum height at the rear property line from 25 feet to 38 feet. The project site was rezoned from I-1 to T3. The applicant owns the property. The applicant owns the property and intends to demolish the existing vacant one-story building and service parking to construct a 4.5-story apartment building with parking, circulation, mechanical, and lounge space in the basement, and 4 stories of residential units above. A total of 60 units are planned. The applicant states in the application materials that the units will be classified as affordable at the 80% AMI level. The applicant requests the maximum height of structures at the rear of the property line to be 38 feet instead of 25. This would provide for the proposed 52 1/4 height of the northeast portion of the L-shaped building, which is set back 15 feet 8 inches from the rear property line. Staff found that all 5 standards were met for this application. The Union Park Community Council provided a letter of support for this project. There were no letters of support and no one spoke in favor of this application during the public hearing. There were 2 letters in opposition of this application, and 1 person spoke against the project during the public hearing. The committee voted 7-0 to approve this application, with I abstained from voting on this matter because I had a question since it also came for a variance on the BZA. So the motion is coming out of committee is to approve. Is there any discussion on the motion? All right, seeing none. Sonia, could we get a roll call?
Okay, Commissioner Muchapa,
Yes.
gotcha. Commissioner Underwood,
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson,
Yes.
Commissioner DeJoy,
Yes.
Commissioner Grill,
Yes.
Commissioner Perryman,
Yes.
Commissioner Presley,
Yes.
Commissioner Hood,
Yes.
Commissioner Hahn,
Yes.
Commissioner Taglia,
Yes.
Commissioner Yang,
Yes.
Commissioner Said,
Yes.
Commissioner Risberg.
Yes.
Unanimous.
All right, so the motion to approve a conditional use permit at 1509 Marshall Avenue to increase maximum height at the rear property line from 25 to 38 feet is approved. The next item that came before the committee was 1164 West 7th Street for rezoning from an RT2 townhouse residential to RM2 multifamily residential. The site was recognized as a pre-existing sober house for 9 residents in 2008 as part of the sober house zoning study and approved for sober house for 11 residents by the zoning administrator in 2019. The application is to rezone the property to allow future multifamily development. It is anticipated to include 10 to 14 market rate 1-bedroom units. Staff found that all standards were met. The district council provided a letter of support for the application. The district council submitted a letter of support for the project. There were no other letters of support or opposition for this application, and no one spoke in favor or against this application during the public hearing. The committee voted 8-0 to approve this application. Is there any discussion on the motion coming from the committee? Seeing none, Sonia, can we get a roll call?
Commissioner Anderson, Commissioner Joy,
Yes.
Commissioner Grill,
Yes.
Commissioner Hood,
Yes.
Commissioner Hung,
Yes.
Commissioner Perryman,
Yes.
Commissioner Muchapa,
Yes.
Commissioner Presley, Commissioner Presley,
Yes.
Commissioner Risberg, Commissioner Risberg,
Yes.
Commissioner Said,
Yes.
Commissioner Tagoff,
Yes.
Commissioner Underwood,
Yes.
Commissioner Yang,
Yes.
unanimous.
So the motion for a reestablishment of non-conforming use, the motion for rezone from RT2 townhouse residential to RM2 at 1164 West 7th Street is approved. The next item was 275 Erie, a reestablishment of non-conforming use as a duplex. The structure was constructed in 1887 as a church. The property received a variance for lot size from the zoning committee to allow the conversion of the church to a legal duplex in 1968. Later, the building was converted illegally to a triplex. The property is currently zoned R4 residential, which does not permit a duplex. The property lost its legal non-conforming status as a duplex when it was listed as a Category 2 vacant building in 2013. The 40-foot wide, 5,400 square feet property was purchased as a vacant property in 2015 and was renovated to be a single-family home at that time. Staff found that all of the duplex conversion guidelines and findings were met. The district council submitted a letter of support for the project. There was 1 letter of support for this application and 7 letters in opposition. No one spoke in favor or against the application during the public hearing. The committee voted 8-0 to approve this application. Is there any discussion in the motion coming from committee? All right, seeing none. Sonia, can we get a roll call?
Commissioner Anderson,
Yes.
Commissioner DeJoy,
Yes.
Commissioner Grill,
Yes.
Commissioner Hood,
Yes.
Commissioner Hong,
Yes.
Commissioner Perryman,
Yes.
Commissioner Presley,
yes,
Commissioner Muchapal,
Yes.
Commissioner Risberg,
Yes.
Commissioner Said,
Yes.
Commissioner Tagoff,
Yes.
Commissioner Underwood,
Yes.
Commissioner Yang,
Yes.
unanimous.
So the reestablishment of non-conforming use as a duplex is approved. The final item before the zoning committee was at 795 to 801 Barge Channel Road, a conditional use permit to allow internal conveyance pits below the regulatory flood protection elevation in a new building. After Logistics proposes construction of a new Ultra Logistics proposes construction of a new fertilizer storage building. Staff found that all the standards of this application were met. The district council had not commented on the application. By the time of the zoning committee meeting, we received no letters in support about or opposition of this project, and we had 1 person speak in opposition of the application, with no one speaking in favor during the public hearing. The committee voted 8-0 to approve this application. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, can we get a roll call?
Commissioner Anderson,
Yes.
Commissioner DeJoy,
Yes.
Commissioner Grill,
Yes.
Commissioner Hood,
Yes.
Commissioner Hong,
Yes.
Commissioner Perryman,
Yes.
Commissioner Presley,
yes,
Commissioner Muchapal,
Yes.
Commissioner Risberg,
Yes.
Commissioner Said,
Yes.
Commissioner Tagoff,
Yes.
Commissioner Underwood,
Yes.
Commissioner Yang,
Yes.
unanimous.
So that motion at 795 to 801 Barge Channel Road for a conditional use permit is approved. That was all of the items at the zoning committee. So we had a a long meeting, but it wasn't too long, I don't think, this last time. The next item on the agenda is the Comprehensive and Neighborhood Planning Committee. Commissioner Grill.
So this is Commissioner Grill. We had our meeting on Wednesday night. We had a working session to go through items on the parking study that committee members might have had questions about. And then we got a presentation from Mr. Dermody on the homeless services zoning study. It's not on the agenda for today. It's on the agenda for our meeting on the 19th. So I believe that we will cover that in detail at that meeting, but that will be to eventually release the zoning study and set a public hearing at a future meeting. And then I believe our next regularly scheduled meeting is not on the calendar until the 17th, but I believe we do have a meeting next week, and staff can correct me if I'm wrong, which would be our final meeting on the parking study before a recommendation comes from the committee. And that is
thank you. Thanks, Commissioner Grill. And I did see that Ms. Mohan commented that we do have a comp plan meeting on March 10th. The next item on the agenda is the Transportation Committee. Commissioner Risberg.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. This is Jeff Risberg. Our last meeting was on February 22nd, where we heard the transportation analysis of the Hillcrest Master Plan. We heard about 2 finalist scenarios in the master plan, and had an interesting discussion, particularly related to traffic flow within and through and around the development. So our next meeting is March 22nd, and an agenda is to be determined. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Commissioner Risberg. I should have asked any questions for Commissioner Grill or Commissioner Risberg. All right, next item is Communication Nominations Committee. Commissioner Underwood.
Thank you. I'll just share that, as was updated earlier this morning, we have a number of new commissioners being sworn in at our next meeting in 2 weeks, and which is exciting. And the annual report, I believe, is done and will be distributed electronically when it's ready to go. That's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner Underwood. Any questions for Commissioner Underwood? Next item on the agenda is the Task Force Liaison Report. Commissioner DeJoy, any update on the Hillcrest development?
Sure. I want to announce that there is an online community meeting with the Hillcrest finalist scenarios Tuesday, March 16th at 5:30. I have posted in the chat how to RSVP if you'd like to join us online for that. And that's my report.
Thank you. And I don't think it's up yet, but Commissioner Grill, is there any update on your task force?
There is not.
Okay. I'll call for old business, new business. Seeing none, we will adjourn the March 5th, 2021 St. Paul Planning Commission meeting. Thanks everybody for joining, and have a good weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.